We have a brand new flash flood warning to talk about. This is an imminent threat. We are seeing rushing water into homes right now and expecting to see that potential until 1:30 this afternoon. This includes portions of Brazoria, Fort Bend, and Harris County. So let's get right to it. This is the polygon that we'll be watching throughout this late morning and into the early afternoon. I've taken radar off for now just to highlight the areas that will need special attention. This includes a large portion of the Houston Metroplex. So more than 2.5 million people under the threat of flash flooding. That is fast moving water because we're overly saturated. Any additional moisture we get will be dangerous. So we'll be watching areas that get close to Corville, towards Cypress. We've already seen reports of the flash flooding in homes by the sheriff's office, and I have more details on that on social media. I'll also read off some of the streets that have been reporting that. That threat extends all the way down to Missouri City and even into Sugar Land again until 1:30 this afternoon. And we go down to Manvel, we could see that potential of localized street flooding issues and flash flooding, which is the biggest threat you can have with localized rain and flooding events. So this flood warning again up until 1:30 in this afternoon. And let me just take it straight from the National Weather Service, their verbiage that they have right now. So again, this is north central Brazoria, northeastern Fort Bend, and a portion of Harris County. We've already seen several inches of rain, which I'll show you here in a minute, and we're expecting to get another 1 to 2 inches of additional moisture as we go into the afternoon. So this is causing some small creeks and some streams to have overflow and to have that rushing water potential, especially in poor drainage in low-lying areas, underpasses as well. Some locations that could be impacted, like I showed you, Sugar Land, Pearland as well, Missouri City, Alvin, Stafford, Bel Air, Westview, Tomball, Jersey Village, Manvel, Hunters Creek, as well as Bunker Hill Village. I'll have a full list of all of the areas that could see this flash flooding take place within the next few hours, but they are very populated areas. Again, more than 2.5 million people under this threat, including places like Montrose, River Oaks area, Greenway, Upper Kirby. So this is something to definitely take seriously and make sure you are taking safety precautions right now. If you do live in these areas and if you are experiencing anything of this sort, make sure you get to a safe space and make sure if you are on the roads, if you encounter some of these street flooding or even ponding issues, that you take an alternate route, turn around. In addition to this, we are seeing the threat of flash flood warnings all around the area. So this includes Northwest Harris County is going to be the special area to watch because that's where the sheriff's office has already reported multiple issues for homes and for local streets. And I'm actually going to read the list that Sheriff Ed Gonzalez posted of the reports that he personally has gotten. So this includes FM 529 and 290 in both directions. This includes 21,000 block of Roberts Cemetery Road north of 2920, 24,600 block of Mesquite River and Old Windmill Tribe. This includes Killigos Street. I'll have to verify the pronunciation on that, and Huffman Sniff Corville. So those are some of the areas that have already seen issues when it comes to rushing water. That is dangerous for many reasons. First and foremost, because it has a lot of speed and it has quite a bit of depth. It can have quite a bit of accumulation of water. Once that you see the overflow of that kind of rushing towards you, that's going to create a concern for people in the northwest side of Houston right now. And as you can see, really throughout that whole warned area, because we've seen a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. This morning especially, we saw a big cell come up from 288 and push into Harris County there. So some of the rainfall rates just over the last 24 hours, 4, 5, 6 inches of rainfall, radar indicated. And again, with an additional 2 or 3 on the way for this afternoon. This is why we've got this flash flood warning up until 1:30. Something else I want to make note of, the rain is heavy and it has not been letting up. Obviously you see that, you hear the rumbles of thunder, you potentially see some lightning out there. Not a lot of charge with this, but a lot of juice, a lot of moisture to work with, and so that's why we have the biggest threat to see flooding all around the viewing area for today. I want to show you some other areas that have warnings out there because we got to pay close attention west of town to or west of the viewing area as well. There's a flood warning for a couple of other spots. There's the Beat Eyes flood warning that goes past Montgomery and into Walker County as well, into Grimes County, and that is going to last until 7 o'clock this evening. Much less populated area there, but still something to keep in mind because that spot has seen a big bullseye of moisture. Radar indicated about 10 inches of rainfall over the last 24 hours. Another spot, Waller County. Now this is going to expire here shortly, but the flash flood warning, that is going to be the biggest concern really through the afternoon because it's not a gradual circumstance. It's something that happens very fast without warning. So just make sure you take the necessary precautions to get yourself to a safe space. That is already happening now and is expected to continue for a few hours. So it's not really a warning, it's an actionable call right now to take, especially if you are seeing that or hearing reports from your neighbors of that happening. Another spot that I want to highlight for you, and this is going to be for a portion of Colorado County. There's another flood warning there until 1 o'clock Tuesday morning. And I want to highlight this spot because it is it's very isolated and it's kind of barricaded in a sense, and so there's the threat for livestock there, potentially some drowning. So just make sure if you are in this area there along FM 1300 road, just make sure you're keeping an eye out on that situation there and trying to take whatever necessary steps that you have to take. And this is expected to crest a little later on today. Flood stage is 18 feet and it's expected to get to 18.6. The last time it got above the crest stage was in 2007. So this is going to be another area that we have to watch. It's a range of threats for today between minor street flooding and ponding to flash flooding, which again is the highest threat we can have with this. Rushing water, and a lot of it is not a good combination. So keep in mind that even though we'll have these warnings come and go throughout the day, some will expire, some will be extended. We are all under the threat of some sort of flooding impact at least until 7 o'clock tonight. The flood watch, which is basically the get ready marker, was issued early this morning, and rightfully so, because we're seeing that take flight now with the flash flood warning up now for Harris, a portion of Fort Bend, as well as a portion of Brazoria County. Now this spot has been getting a lot of rain over the last hour and a half or so, and it is funneling into Harris County. We'll take a quick look at radar again, but before I do that, I want to walk you through future track to see what else we can expect moving forward. On and off showers throughout the day, some of them with a lot of intensity. So we're still seeing those signatures of bright oranges and reds on future track, which signals the torrential downpours that we've been seeing all day. I'm looking in this direction because we have a big window, so I'm sure like most of you haven't really stepped outside and you're kind of watching things from indoors and you see that torrential downpour. Sometimes it comes with some gusty wind, the sideways rain. So it's not something that you want to succumb yourself to when it comes to going on the roads if you can help that. All right, so let's go through time here. Lunch hour, so just about an hour from now, there's a potential for more showers to stream from the Gulf, kind of a repeat scenario of what we saw just about an hour ago, where we have these showers streaming in along the Gulf Freeway, along 288, and making their push towards the city center. This seems like a likely scenario because we just have this churning motion just off the coast. We got this closed coastal low pressure system that developed this morning, and that's been continuously funneling rain bands, and that's when a dangerous setup takes place, when we don't have breaks from the rain, because we can absorb a certain amount of moisture, not so well now since we saw a lot of it last week, but typically we can absorb decent quantities, but not at this rate and not at this intensity. So that's a snapshot at 1 o'clock. You could see the model is hinting at quite a bit of moisture pushing maybe east side of town now. We've been getting hit really heavily on the west side of town. So maybe seeing hopefully a little bit of a break there. But, you know, this rain band coming in at 2:30 does not show that. Paints a pretty stormy and wet, potentially dangerous scenario as we go into the afternoon. Flash flooding is what we do not want to see. We keep our guard up for advisories. Our eyes really perk up with a warning. And once it comes to flash flooding, that's when it goes beyond that. That means you need to take action immediately, and you need to be very vigilant about what's around you and what's headed to you next, which is why keeping a close eye on Future Track is going to be paramount for today, and definitely seeing the trends on radar as well, because while we see what's happening now, lets us know how we can prepare if we've got plans. The trends that it is exhibiting definitely helps us forecast for what might happen later this afternoon. So let's take us back out to radar here quickly. If you're just joining us now, a big portion of southeast Texas is now under a flash flood warning. I will read out some of the major cities that this is expected to impact or is already impacting. Remember, the sheriff's office, as I mentioned, has already put out a list of streets, roads, areas near creeks, areas that have been reporting flash flooding already happening in the northwest side of Harris County. So the warning that's out now for the potential for more flash flooding, I'll have the location up there now, so as I'm reading this, you can follow along with me. But again, the warning includes Fort Bend, Harris, as well as Brazoria counties. And it involves some more than 200 million people. So this is something to keep a really close eye on for this afternoon. So there it is. I'm really happy to see that the coloring on radar is changing. The heavier bands are moving out of the way, but unfortunately, still seeing that heavy cell over the 610 loop. And look at what's behind it. Another big swath of moisture, and the trajectory, very similar to what we saw about an hour ago when we got those big booms of thunder. It's scooting up and riding 288. Headed straight for the Beltway and for the loop. So this polygon you see here in yellow, the flash flood warned area, is going to require special attention at least until 1:30. That's when the National Weather Service has signaled that may be allowed to expire, but these things can be extended just depending on how radar is shaping up. So some of the very populated cities that are encountering street issues or could encounter street issues momentarily include Pearland, Sugar Land, Missouri City, Alvin, Stafford, Bel Air, West U, Tomball, Jersey Village, Manville, Hunters Creek Village, Bunker Hill Village. All of these areas are extremely populated. Piney Point Village, maybe you're watching from some of these spots. If you are, leave a comment. Please let me know what you're seeing outside your home. Is it light and manageable, or is it causing some issues? Try to give your neighbors a heads up. Spring Valley, Spring Branch West, Spring Branch North, River Oaks, Greenway, Upper Kirby area, Memorial Park, Neartown, and Montrose, Neartown, Montrose. Yeah, so something that is going to definitely shift around your plans. Like this isn't a suggestion at this point. A flash flood warning is something that you want to take very seriously. So let's look at the trend here. This is a loop over the last hour. So lets us know these move really quickly. So that's why they have a lot of wind. And typically that would be a good thing. But unfortunately, trailing rain and funneling in of the Gulf moisture is just keeping these going. And you can see that could potentially develop into something here momentarily too. So, well, it looks like we get little breaks pretty consistently. We're funneling in the stream of rain in a really inopportune area. So that is something that I'll be watching here throughout the morning and into the afternoon. It's going to be me and Pat Calvin throughout the day, just keeping a close eye on this. And again, if you are seeing anything like this, try to warn your neighbors. Of course, try to get yourself to safe space. And the big thing here is to watch those roads and just watch Really a multitude of things. Watch for people and watch for livestock. It's a whole assortment of different areas that are being impacted, a little bit rural to heavily populated. And of course, when we see people impacted, that's when we really start to get very concerned. And so let me show you how much rain we've seen already. And again, the forecast calls for another 2, 3, maybe isolated areas getting 4 inches of rain, with some spots that continue to accumulate rain over the last, just hour. This big band of storms that came in from 288 kind of developed out of nowhere and really blew up. So Hawthorne Place and just north of that, you see that little magenta color? 7 inches of radar indicated rain over the last 24 hours. Now things really picked up over the last 6 hours, I would say. So I'm going to show you a loop over the last 6 hours. And I'm just getting a message from our web producer. Dobinet Creek Lake, Mount Moriah at the bridges closed in Montgomery County due to high water. So high water, ponding, street flooding, flash flooding, all big concerns. There's a big gamut, a big range of the issues that we're going to encounter today. So high water spots hopefully will recede. However, rushing water is a threat that we have right now closer to the Cypress area. So rain totals just over the last 6 hours, and I'll continue to kind of funnel it out over the last 3 hours of the last hour, really paint the picture that this is a lot of moisture in a really short amount of time, which is, it's no surprise that it's accumulating in various places and eventually just releasing as rushing, fast, imminent, threatening water. Right near the airport, right around 5 inches of radar indicated rain over just the last 6 hours. The Highland Heights, about 4 inches of radar indicated rain. The yellows signal more 2 to 3 inch rainfall totals, closer to 4 in a couple of spots. So that is really, that's a lot of moisture. That's without taking into account the moisture that we had last week, the moisture that we had yesterday. This is just over the last 6 hours, and now we're looking just over the last 3 hours. So a lot of that rain has picked up the pace in a short amount of time. So again, some of the spots to watch, well, really a big portion of Harris County, a big portion of Fort Bend and Brazoria counties. But right now, Tomball, Spring, a couple of spots have gotten some 2 to 3 inches of rain. So a couple of more closures. We just got an alert from Montgomery County. Johnson Road is now closed due to high water. Glenmont Estates closed due to high water. Roberts Cemetery, this has been a spot that's been flagged for a number of hours. That is also closed now because of high water at Charles. FM 1774 and FM 140 closed for the same reason, high water. FM 149 in Jackson Road with the same issue. 24,650 West FM at 1097 near Salas Ranch, same deal, high water. FM 149 in Bailey Grove also closed. And like we mentioned, I'll say it again, Dobin at Lake Creek and Mount Moriah at the bridges closed because of high water spots. So there are a lot of areas that are already being shut down. They're not passable. Law enforcement will get to every which area that they can. However, this is a huge space to have this warned area under. So they are not going to be able to get to every spot, which is why you have to use your better judgment and play it as safe as you can. If you see any amount of still standing or worse rushing water, you know what to do. Go in the opposite direction. If you're just joining us now, I'm gonna fill you in on the latest warning from the National Weather Service, which is about as extreme of a warning as you can get when it comes to flooding. It is a flash flood warning. That means not only do we have water that's accumulated that's causing issues on the streets, but it's potentially rushing water. So water that can do damage quickly because it's got the force of gravity and the force of speed working along with it. The area that is under this warning is a big one. North of Spring, just northwest of Spring, down into the Alvin area, north of Danbury. This includes a big portion of the Loop and the Beltway, areas to the west, but notice really all of the Metroplex under a lot of rain and torrential downpours. So it's not just manageable rain, it is rain that is blinding, difficult to drive in, and very difficult to sustain, which is why we're seeing the impacts of not only street flooding, but potentially rushing flash flood issues. We've seen reports of flash flooding already in northwest Harris County from Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and I'll read those areas as well in case you are just joining us. And again, if you happen to see something where you live, please drop a comment. And even if you're not seeing issues, drop a comment. Let me know what you're experiencing in your neighborhood, just so we know what the threshold's going to be, what more we can handle before we start to see issues on the road. So from Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, FM 529 and 290 closed in both directions, or not, excuse me, they were closed. We actually just received a report from one of our photographers that area was closed. It's potentially reopened. However, that area has already experienced flash flooding reports. 21,000 Roberts Cemetery Road, north of 2920, that has already experienced flash flooding, according to Sheriff Ed Gonzalez and local reports. 24,600 Mesquite River at Old Windmill, that's near Hockley, or in Hockley, that has already experienced those reports. Northwest Harris County, that's not to say that the flash flooding isn't happening elsewhere. It likely is, or it likely will very soon. It just means that these are some of the reports that have been received by law enforcement and are currently being monitored. But the National Weather Service has instated this flash flood warning for more than 2.5 million of us, about 2.6, to be on alert for this very same scenario. Because if you really think about it, Hockley area has seen quite a bit of rain, but if we expand the view, so have the rest of us along the Loop and along the Beltway, all the way up into Spring, all the way down to Sugar Land. That's an area that is under this flash flood warning until 1:30. So all these spots are going to be requiring attention. That's why I'm asking you for some of that attention and some of those eyes, just to get a good gauge and a good estimate of what we're seeing around town right now. But what I'm seeing on radar is a lot of very heavy, impactful, potentially dangerous rain right now. And flash flooding is very dangerous, and we have already seen reports of that happening in Northwest Harris County. So this is a dangerous situation. This is something that you want to take really seriously. It isn't a suggestion or it could happen. It's happening now, and it's expected to happen at least until 1:30. So these are some of the cities that have been highlighted: Houston, Missouri City, Pearland, and Sugar Land. This warning up as of now until 1:30. Could it be extended? Yes. So you're going to have to check back in. Just keep your phone on and keep your warnings on, your alerts. If you don't have the KHOU app, go ahead and download it. You not only get some of the important alerts straight to your phone, you also get to look at radar. So that's going to be really important to assess how your specific neighborhood is going to react in the next few hours. And that is paramount, because it really is, it boils down to just that, getting really, really specific in what each and every independent neighborhood is experiencing right now. So now I'm throwing radar back on, and there's bigger charge now out there. So some of these storms are gaining some intensity, and we got a lot of rotation. These are spiraling columns of moisture coming in from the Gulf, from a coastal low pressure area that developed early this morning. And so that's what's really taken up those rain chances and taken up that flood potential to a high We were talking about this in the morning, flood potential for today is at a level 3, and it's only a 1 to 4 scale. So that is verifying. Right now we are seeing a big danger when it comes to flooding and for a big portion of southeast Texas. So I want to show you the Storm Prediction Center outlook, and this is a new update. It's fairly similar to the old one. Now it encompasses everyone. So, you know, a small portion of Liberty, Chambers, is under the slight level 2 threat, but really a wide scope, especially front and center under that level 3 for the 1 to 4 scale flash flooding concerns. Let's go through future track one more time to see what we can expect over the next few hours. But again, until 1:30 at least, this is going to be an ongoing concern and something to take really seriously. I know the timing is really unfortunate. I know as Houstonians we try to muscle through the rain. We get the rain all the time, but a scenario like this is not one that you want to chance. So flash flooding is the highest warning you can get when it comes to roads and the threat for water to have impacts to homes, impacts to people, and even impacts to livestock, some of the more rural areas that have warnings up right now. So as we go forward in time, this is a pretty good representation of what's happening. So this is our short-term model that is showing us, the graph is showing us what it interprets is happening right now, and it's doing a pretty good job. The placement will have a little bit of a discrepancy, but the general consensus is we're getting swaths of moisture from the Gulf, and that's verifying outside. And you can even see it has that rotational component that we were seeing on radar too. So I like to see something like that because it gives me a little bit more confidence as to what we can expect moving forward, and at least a little bit of leeway to prepare for that. So lunchtime, just about half an hour from now, it's still trying to show us that more of those heavier rain bands, the really deep oranges, the reds, the torrential impactful downpours will continue. That's a snapshot at 1 o'clock. 2:30, more rain for Sugar Land, again an area that is warned for flash flooding potential. More rain for our eastern counties, again that flood warning or the potential for a lot of flood impacts now extends to our eastern counties, level 3 on the 1 to 4 scale. So we can understand why that is, because our models are predicting that we are going to continue to see more and more bands, and more of them focused right in the heart of the city. So where a lot of us, either live or we're planning to go for Mother's Day Sunday. One more time before I let you go. I will be, on social media and watching radar throughout the day. So if you just check in periodically, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, KHOU, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or my own Kim Castro, KHOU, Facebook, Instagram, I will post not only radar, future track, the warnings we have up, but also some specialized creeks and streams and areas that are seeing a little bit of spillover of moisture that are at the flood stage, just in case that you live maybe near those spots. But really, really heavy rain along the North Freeway pushing towards Livingston. Heavy rain for the Spring area. Downtown showing a little bit of a clearing there behind a big storm that's pushing into Spring. But flash flood warning has been issued for a large chunk of southeast Texas. Brazoria, Fort Bend, Harris County. Expect to see flash flooding and the potential of it at least until 1:30. And please check back in with us throughout the day to see how these storms are evolving and if we need to pay special attention to any other areas. For now, please stay safe and really stay vigilant as to what's going on out there.